Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest is Heather Dugan. We have a lot to talk about today, and that is surviving the holidays when you are alone. Well, you know, this actually has a different meaning for many people now. With COVID still very much in play, or whatever variant it is now, we're still being told to kind of not necessarily isolate, but, you know, restrict the amount of people that we see, stay in your bubble. And, you know, one of the saddest things I think is that people who are alone at this holiday season, it's one that really hits people hard, that loneliness of no family to go to or can't travel at this time period, and maybe have no family left. You know, there's so many reasons why people are alone, and that loneliness for many people can be really something that it's uncertain, but it of course become rather crippling. So how do we get around that? How do we find that beautiful sense of joy and love and everything else in the holiday season while we are alone? Well, you know, Heather says for those who feel a sense of loneliness, the holidays can be a time of major additional stress. And, you know, she's a single mom, resilient of 3, relationship expert, award-winning author, date like a grown-up, antidotes, admission of guilt and advice between friends, and the friendship upgrade, which offers solutions for social sideline. It's also very common for people to feel emotionally distanced from people they're with, which can result in feeling lonely even in a room full of people. Oh, I can totally relate to that one. So how do we actually face that loneliness and not be alone? Sometimes just being with your own company is actually kind of the best company you can have. But when it's obvious that everybody else is partying, it goes from enjoying your own company to feeling alone. Welcome back, Heather.
Hello, thank you. It's good to be back with you, Sarah, and I'm really glad to be talking about this. I was actually at Elon University in North Carolina. I think it was just last week. I've been doing a little bit of traveling with some speaking, but their lifelong learning sessions, we covered creating space for connection. And I opened those talks with just the understanding that, you know, solitude is one thing. That's when we choose to be alone. Loneliness is something entirely different, and it all comes down to choice and perception. You know, if you can say, this is where I want to be right now, you know, you have that option to go be with family or friends versus, you know, I don't know who to call. Big difference.
Very big difference. And we don't want to be a burden on people. You know, we don't want to, you know, oh no, they've got their family, you know, they've got their friends. I don't want to be a bother. And it's like, bother them before the actual date, you know, go fishing, you know,
there is nothing wrong with letting people know, gosh, it's just going to be a little different for me this year. And, you know, for some people, we talked about distance because of the pandemic, but there's also families that have been torn apart by just the polarization we've had in the world over all the, you know, the political and the social and the climate and everybody, you know, there's some people that have really pulled themselves apart from, you know, within a family. They're fractures that are difficult to get past. So, you know, some people might have family and be conflicted about whether they want to be with them. And that creates a whole nother dynamic inside. So, right. You know, the more, when we talk about being alone, the more we can make choices within that space, the better we come off, because then we're not helpless.
Right.
We are actually having a little bit of power within it. So I think you're right about letting people know ahead of time. That's certainly a good thing. And to begin planning ahead. So it's like not all of a sudden the night before and you're dreading getting out of bed in the next morning.
Right. Or somebody has invited you out of guilt type of thing, you know. And the thing is, if you're in this situation, there are many others in this situation.
Yes.
You know, how about picking up the phone or dropping an email or texting someone, whatever you do, and say, look,
Yeah.
I'm on my own for Christmas. Who else is on their own? Is there a way we can get together?
There were years that I would, on the afternoon of Christmas, evening of Christmas, I guess it was, when my children would go to be with their father's family, I would just invite people over with their leftovers, just a
Yes.
potluck with leftovers,
Yes.
because I know that and it would be a hodgepodge of people. Some never met each other before. That doesn't really matter. But you're so correct in that people don't typically raise their hands and wave a flag when they are alone. It feels like over time, it begins to feel like you're being punished. We just take it that way.
Neglected.
Oh, there's something wrong with me, right?
Nobody loves me.
We don't look at all the factors that go into it that have nothing to do with our personalities and choices. There are a lot of things, and that can be very freeing when you open yourself up to understanding that aspect of things. But the other side of it too is that we all have this innate need for connection, which is why it feels really bad when we're alone and don't want to be. So if you reach out to somebody, you're not asking for a favor, you're offering something of reciprocal value. They also need connection.
Yes.
So you can call yourself a benefactor, but maybe not be so I will give you the honor of my presence, but instead, hey, what are you doing, and understand that they might very well share that need for that particular time space as well.
And you might get to the thing where, okay, there is a reason why you don't want to be around people. Well, there is this thing called Zoom. And what people have done is they've literally put their computer at the table, right? And they're busy eating their meal and everybody else is doing the same thing. And then you get the feeling you're around the table.
There's at least some interaction there.
It's an interaction. It's a connection, and maybe not physical, but we are in a digital world, and there is this thing of I can't travel to meet my best friend or this or that. So what's the next best thing you can do if you can't physically be with people, right? Is set the computer table.
Yeah, you could definitely go that route. I think that, we have opened ourselves up to a lot of different ways of connection. The important thing is that it feels like a connection to you. Now, some people, the video gets disjointed because it's like a lot of extra sensory input. And that can be. So if you're one of those people, sometimes, just the phone call. Yeah. And if you're not doing 5 other things at the same time, this is a phone call and you are, remember when we used to be tethered to a wall with a cord, you couldn't multitask. Yes. Now, they can be like checking on the mashed potatoes and running over and letting the dog in. It's not the most focused conversation. And I think it is such a gift when you give somebody your focused attention. And even say, I put my computer away. I'm going to sit here and talk to you. Or, I'm going to take a walk and I just want to kind of enjoy the outdoors and a conversation with you. Right. That's establishing value between the two people.
Yes, exactly. As I said, I've done shows in the past, which I play every year, this time of year, Only the Lonely. And, and loneliness is a killer, because it is. There's many, many people, the loneliness gets so overwhelming. And, I'm going to hit the more elder generation here, because there are so many who just don't have families anymore, or, no access to the families, and they're alone all the time. And, really what they want is just a conversation. It doesn't have to be long. And how many people live in apartments that are behind those doors? And there was a wonderful commercial a while ago of a girl coming home and just realizing everybody's going behind their doors. So she went out and put a table out there with chairs, knocked on all the doors and said, I've got this dish, what have you got? And it ended up everybody coming out of their doors, putting tables and chairs together and getting to know one another, right? Right. We are human beings who need connection. We do. And our elderly generation may not have access to all of these bells and whistles that we do.
And a lot of times they have unfortunately gotten used to being kind of ignored. Yes. There's a video out of the UK that I actually have shared a couple times in presentations, and maybe we can arrange for that link, or I can share that somewhere. Please. But it shows someone of the younger generation willingly going through a week without internet and without contact, social connection, which kind of replicates the feeling of having a transition happen in your life suddenly. Okay. And then at the end of that time, he has a conversation with an older man who lives in the same area. And just the understanding, the empathy that's built through that.
Yes.
I mean, people are forgotten. And this gentleman, I mean, he reveals that he's a widower. And, you know, a lot of times those are the people that I hear from, because, you know, when you've got your life in a little bubble with a spouse, and maybe, you know, it's kind of simplified a little bit to be just that, can be really just it's earth shattering anyways, but you don't even know where to put your feet if you don't have connections in place to go forward with. So it's important to be building those relationships all the time for ourselves, not just, oh, I guess I'm good, I've got everybody I need.
Yes.
You know, things change.
What about the village?
Right. And there are people that you don't know now that could very easily be a huge part of your life if you just let them have the opportunity to have a conversation. You know, when I moved to where I am now 3 years ago, I ended up meeting one of my neighbor friends and did not know her before. And we've become really good friends. I really value having that friendship. I never would have guessed that would be there when I moved here.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful surprise. But that's being open to new possibilities.
That is a huge thing. And then again, the older generation aren't necessarily going places to be open and meet people. So, you know, as I've said in some of those other shows, it's a knock on the door.
Yes.
Knock on the door.
That's wonderful.
I'm going Christmas shopping. Can I get you anything?
Absolutely.
Right? If you can't invite them for Christmas Day, how about you invite them for Christmas Eve? You know, for a drink or for tea or for something. You know, make them feel like, you know, they understand Christmas Day, it's your family, that's all right. But you've recognized them, you've seen them, you've heard, you know, being
seen is so important. And you know what else? I love the idea. If you are alone and you are, you know, why not get little like gift bags or little notes, and just even anonymously, but leave or go and just, you know, be the one that reaches out to other people. And, you know, that benefits both. And you have a purpose, you have something that is really making a difference for somebody else. It fills time in a very a happy way if you can do something like that.
If you're in
why not?
If you're in an apartment block, you know, whether it's a big or small, maybe you just take your floor, or if it's a small apartment block, or you're sharing a house, whatever the case is, why not put a notice up and go, anyone on their own for Christmas, you know, how about we get together and do a potluck, right? And it's taking that first step, taking that initiative. To you know, like, don't be alone, I'm alone too, there is no stigma in it, you know, you're not a loser, you know, it's just circumstances, you know, there's no shame in it, let's get together and have fun.
And, you know, when you are the vulnerable one, that allows other people to be. And why not just say, you know, with the pandemic, with changes that we've all experienced there, I know there are a few of us that have kind of found ourselves with a different sort of holiday season ahead. If you, like me, are facing, you know, walking through this kind of alone this year, I'd love to connect. And you know, it can be as low pressure as possible. That's the best way to do it. You know, just that there's an opportunity to mingle without having a huge focus on, you know, on you. So, you know, it's wonderful if you have, you know, we could get together and watch this movie or walk at this park, you know, it gives you some outside focus, but you're together with people, and then relationships can begin to develop naturally within that space.
I'm going to switch channels a little bit now to, you've invited some people to your house, you know, maybe you're in an area that you now can actually have that party. And there's somebody in the party that's not being spoken to, right? And one of, you know, I think the hardest thing, something that I definitely felt through my life, was being lonely within a crowd. You know, and it's like, for me, it was just people just didn't know how to speak to me, you know, and that was the weird one. But I see it so much, like, whether elderly or not, just people not, I don't know these people, I'm feeling uncomfortable, or nobody everybody's gone cliquey together and not paying attention to that person, you know, in the corner there. And it's like, you've assumed something about this person without actually speaking to them. And maybe they are grumpy and you don't want to go and, you know, you know, but how about
there?
they're there. How about going there with a sense of humor? and even kind of teasing them about their grumpiness. Come on, hi, humbug, how are you doing?
Yeah. You
Lighten
know,
it up.
and just finding, you find the commonalities. What do
Yeah,
you share? You start at that point. Questions that are not going to, put everything on the line,
yeah,
but gentle questions that allow them to begin to reveal a little bit about themselves.
yeah,
So, what were the holidays like for you last year?
yeah.
What do you remember about your holidays when you were a kid?
Mhm.
Some of those things, and you learn. There's some really rich information when you
Yes.
talk to somebody that's got a lot more life experience than you do.
Yeah.
And then you can take that as an entree as you open a conversation between that person, maybe in another group in the room. So I always like, if I'm trying to engage somebody that's having a little, and sometimes people just are uncomfortable with it. Some are more
Yeah.
natural at it.
Yeah.
And with the time that we've had alone,
Yeah.
it feels awkward to a lot of people and it takes more stamina than we're used to.
Yes.
It's like we're running a marathon and we're simply having, a 5-minute conversation. But, if you can bring them over with something to share that will engage them with those people and make them a familiar person, like it shows that you found something interesting in them already,
Yes.
then
And you're
that
opening
it
up that
helps.
door. Yeah.
Right. It
Yeah.
makes them a part of things in a very gentle way. We've got to be as inclusive as we can be in those situations.
I think also, kind of something else to remember.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy when you all get together and you haven't seen people for a while to go down the bitch fest, right?
Ah,
And, grump, 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 blah, 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 leave that at the door, please. This is a time of
yeah.
cheer. This is a time of joy. Come with that smile. You can turn it upside down afterwards if you want. But, don't come in. It's been a bloody awful year.
Yeah.
Everybody's been through that. This is the time where we want to step out of that and step
Right.
into camaraderie joy of togetherness.
Well, yeah, that's that is when you think about the people that we're drawn to are the people that are, reflecting back pieces that we want in ourselves, right?
And misery loves company.
Right. But you're going to have the same elements around you regardless, but your perspective is what makes it a happy experience or a torture.
Yeah.
So, when we have that choice, why would we not choose the happy experience? I really struggle with that when people repeatedly are focused on the negative. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't change anything.
Yeah. They've got so caught up in that misery though, they just can't see.
Yeah. Right.
They can't see the rainbow through the trees. They just it's and I also say caught up in a tornado and they don't know how to get out. Right. And
Right.
it's at some point just go to the center. There's a hole there. Drop down.
Right. Right.
Go to the eye of it.
And the more honest we can be with ourselves about the anxieties we do have.
Yes.
We all have things. A lot of us just don't want to look at things that are bothering us. And so we carry them with us. And I kind of say, it's your room, your elephant. Turn around, take a look at the thing, see what's there. If you a lot, we want to keep it all in the peripheral vision. And then it becomes like, this ever growing elephant or this swirling black cloud when simply looking at it, and let's say during the holiday season, well, yeah, I'm afraid that I won't, that nobody will talk to me. I'm afraid that I won't get a present this year. That sounds small, but that could be something for somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do this, but when you break those down into little things, and then you can say, well, it's understandable that you're afraid that you won't have that personal contact this year because that your children are kind of stuck at home where they are this year. It's not their fault. It's not your fault. That's the way it is. And then just go through the reasons instead of turning it into something that's wrong with you.
Right.
You kind of define the things that have created the situation.
Yes.
And then that frees you to be maybe a little happier with everybody around you and more fun.
And, I think again, humor is something, it's the different. We've cried at it. How about we try laughing at it? Because we at some point we've got to release, and in order to get to that joy again, maybe some tearful laughter needs to happen.
Yeah.
And so
being honest and finding the humor, because there is humor in everything.
There is.
It sounds very terrible, but I remember, as we had a reason to laugh, even as we were picking out tombstone for my mother.
Yeah.
There were things that happened that were funny, and
Yes.
you being able to see that in the moment, I think that's what makes life worth living, because
Yeah.
we're going to have it all there. We need to choose. So
Yes, I agree. Um, I mean, loneliness comes in many packages. Right now we're dealing with, the old pocket, the uncertainty, the economic structure. I mean, there are many, many
yeah.
people, oh, I can't go for Christmas. I haven't got money for
Mm,
presents. And,
right.
and if, there are these wonderful little things like stick notes or a little card that you can
Hmm.
do and say,
Yeah.
I'm gifting you my time
Hmm.
to
That's
either
more
to
meaningful,
babysit or
honestly.
drive you to the grocery store or do, company with you, right? And it's like,
Yes.
what is the greatest gift you can give someone but
That's
your
a
time?
treasure. One of
Yes.
my favorite gifts I received from my daughter one time was she'd taken like a clay, something, a pottery piece that she'd made. And in it, she had put all these little childhood memories of things that we had done
Lovely.
that were, and so I would just open these up and find, oh, she remembered this, she remembered
Yes.
that. And then it took me back there with her.
Yeah.
And what a sweet thought. I valued that so much. I
Mm.
still have it, it's
Mm.
on a shelf.
Yes.
I
Yes.
will, I'll always, I still peek in it from time to
Yeah.
time. And just the things that are really connecting. So,
Yeah.
you can get a very expensive gift, but that's not necessarily going to connect you to somebody.
Right.
But if you can connect to an experience through it, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
just I will toss out too. This is totally unrelated, but our ornaments on our trees are
Yeah.
most often related to experiences we've had together. They
Hmm.
are, and you're going to laugh at me, I'm not a shopper. So we get, a lot of times it's keychains when we travel, because I don't want to spend a ton of money and I don't like to shop. But we know that when we've gone on hiking trips or something,
Right.
those are what are on our tree. And so
Mm.
so that becomes a shared memory.
Do you
So we,
remember? Can you remember this? So, and all
yeah,
of a sudden you go down memory lane and you have a good laugh, and
yes.
it makes people feel good
And
because what
yeah,
are we building every time when we're together? We're building memories, and
that's
we
true.
want to
And
bank those memories to revisit them, and and like,
make,
oh, that was a good memory. We don't
yes.
want to, oh my God, a Christmas from hell. I've had a few of those.
Yeah. Well, we all have had times when it wasn't exactly as we expected, but it is key. You don't put your expectations too high,
Mm,
because we just don't need to do that, period. We just
right.
go in with the best we have, and we try to create, I think the more you're focused on other people,
Yeah.
and if you can go forward with curiosity, like, I wonder what I'm going to learn from this person or what this day will have. If you can be curious, that makes it more, less frightening and more of an adventure.
Yes.
So, this is going to be, there are holidays. It's going to be a different holiday than I've had before. Who am I going to meet today if I go out and take a walk? You know, put yourself out there and see what, it will be different, but it'll be memorable. You're going to make a memory of some sort. And the more you choose to tip it towards something positive, the happier you'll be.
There's this big V word, volunteer.
Yes. Isn't that true? There
Yes.
are so many opportunities. And if you're worried about being around people, because of COVID or whatever,
Mm.
there's like even Food Rescue USA. I think they have it in Canada as well, but in the United States, I think it's several different places. But they take food that's left over from businesses
Yeah.
and restaurants and deliver it to people that need it. And so you can
Yes.
be like the courier,
Yeah. Yes.
What a
There's
wonderful way to do.
there's
Yeah.
many ways that you can step up. I mean,
Mhm.
there's the simple thing like my son is facing right now. My daughter, her and her husband built their home, and 2 weeks later she had a baby, and so Christmas is at her place, their home,
Yes.
with baby's
Yes.
first Christmas, and she's hosting it this year. The only problem is she's got two cats. My son has two dogs, and those two,
Ah,
they can't meet. They don't both get on.
yes.
So he's at the flux of like, what do I do with my animals? And so,
Mm,
if you A, want to earn a little extra income, B, want to be of service to someone during that Christmas period, uh, you can look after somebody's animals for them. You've got the
sure.
company, you've got a
Right.
reason to go out and walk. Believe me, those animals can be a sensational company. And who says that
Absolutely.
Christmas has to be Christmas Day for you? You can celebrate it
Yes.
any other time, right?
The more that we can be flexible with our traditions, the
Yes,
better. A lot of things we hold on just because we've always done them. And I
yes,
think, we let should
yeah,
dictate the future or what we did last history. That's what we've always done. It doesn't mean that that makes sense today. When families transition, my daughter and I talk to my kids a lot. We were talking about just the evolution in the way that we celebrated. She was remembering when she was a kid, and the families, younger families then begin to do their own things and build out from there. And that's normal and natural. She just got married this past year. And I said, it's going to change for you in the years ahead.
Yeah.
What feels normal now, you'll be shifting that to be more based around your little family as it grows.
Yes.
And we need to be free to let go of those things and embrace new ones, because sometimes we're carrying these old things a lot and they become burdens over time. Yes. Because, we've always done that, but nobody really enjoys it anymore.
It's I used to work New Year's Eve. I was in hospitality business, so work New Year's Eve. And I actually can't even remember the last time I went out for New Year's. And, I'm okay with that. Everybody else is out. It's crowded. It's this and that. I've always been a person, I like to go and celebrate, whatever I'm celebrating on the days that are quieter. You're not hustling, bustling with everyone else. Right. It's like, you make your Christmas day a different day. You make your New Year's a different thing. For us, that's when we have the children, and it was hard to kind of get out or find a babysitter for New Year's Eve. It was, my ex-husband is Chinese, so it was dim sum with another family on January 1st, where we get together, and it was pots and pans at midnight with the kids, and we loved that. We didn't have to have the pressure. Well, if I don't go to a New Year's party, then that means nobody likes me. It's like, it's just create your celebration anywhere.
Be honest about what's meaningful to you.
Yeah.
My aunt is coming up on her 80th birthday, and we were talking about, it's an obviously different year to think about celebrating, period.
Right.
But she knows herself, and she said very honestly, to me, it's more wonderful when I can engage in small groups of people, and then it, rather than big events, she knows herself. She knows that is what makes that meaningful for her. And if New Year's, if you're going to a New Year's thing, trying to create something just so that you can say, I have something to do.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really fit your life. What's the point of that? Who are you living your life for?
Right.
Yeah.
But
I think too, the idea of, doing things, being open to different days, different ways, all of that's certainly an option. And I think we restrict ourselves way more than we need to when we kind of stay within old parameters.
Right. Yes. It's, the world has shifted quite considerably in the last 2 years. And it's, I don't know if I said this in our last show, but 4 years ago, I was given a saying that the universe is going to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up and change it up and grow up. And the grow up is grow up vibrationally, but grow up as human beings,
Right.
And we are still very much in the shaking to wake up. And many people have woken up and stood up and changing it up. And there are other people that are still so shaken that they don't know how to wake up. And or refuse to wake up, and we can't do anything about them. That's their journey. What we can do is feed the people that have woken up, are changing it up, and realize that we can be a part of that movement. We could be part of something new that is more encompassing, that is more inclusive, more. We really are desperately needing to get back to the village mentality of being there for one another. We've seen what the me, myself, and I has done to society, and we are not meant to be isolated creatures. Right.
And when you talk about these people that get shaken up and can't move forward, that is such a burden. I mean, a lot of times transition happens and somebody is so stuck in their loss that they can't see a way forward. And I do think we have somewhat of an obligation as we begin to find our ways, just to continue to reach out to these people. I mean, they may continue to say no, but when you are hibernating, I call it, when you've kind of like gotten stuck in your isolation, it's unlikely that you're going to be, sending out flares and asking for the help. We've already talked about it. People don't do that.
Yeah.
But you know, eventually people respond sometimes if you continue to reach out to them. I have this group for women, I think we probably talked about last time. And one of the big benefits to this Cabernet Coaches group is that it's been consistent. So some women would start coming after 3 years of hearing about it, but they never felt ready, or that just they had an excuse every time. But because it was consistent, there came a moment where that all clicked together and they were able to take that step and begin to change their life. And so it's the same thing. You never know. Keep asking these people, keep reaching out, because it's not a rejection of you if they say
no. And it's like, the more they see you step into your light, and the more they see you step into, kind of a sense of peace or a sense of beingness, they look at it and go, well, it's working for them. Maybe it is time to change. Maybe it's safe to change. Maybe I can do it too. So very often, inspiration begets invitation. And, you're inviting people by inspiring them. And, you too can too. You've just got to turn the page,
And just inviting a conversation. I mean, that's where you begin to get hope if you are in that kind of a situation. When you are seen, when you are heard. What isolation and loneliness is about is that feeling of nobody understanding you, and that nobody is interested in understanding you. And to give somebody that gift of your ears and your heart for a moment, that's substantial, and that can be a big difference maker. How many times so many times people have talked about the impact of just a simple hello at the right moment that changed their course from something that would have been very destructive. So we all have the opportunity to make big changes that we'll never know as we ripple our way through the world. So we just need to be hopefully always trying to do something in the positive vein. You don't know what's going to come out of it, but that's part of the fun of like all these developing stories that are going on around us in life, right?
I had a wonderful show with a guy that used to be, what do you call it? Not a sheriff, but the Golden Years Bridge. He was in charge of that. And over the years, he talked many a person down from committing suicide. And he said he did lose some where it was just, they were hell bent, but most of the time it was just people feeling so hopeless and helpless, and they didn't know who to reach out to. And somebody just needed to hear them, to say, I see you, I hear you, I've got you. And that can be the entire change. You see me, you hear me, right? And it's like, you're telling me not to jump because there's something better. And very often that's all it takes, right? It's just to be seen and heard.
You're right. Sarah, there were times in my life when, I won't say that I would have ever done anything, but I didn't feel the need. I didn't feel the desire. Life was so hard. And, if not for my children, if not for my curiosity about what might come next, something has to pull you forward, and if it isn't coming from within, if you can just seeing somebody can help light that spark again. But, it's horrible to think, with young people, particularly, that don't have the benefit of knowing that time does change things. And when things are wonderful, they'll be kind of in the middle again at some point. When things are terrible, they'll come back up to the middle again. You learn that over time, if you are willing to absorb that as you go through life. But when people haven't, maybe they're looking at time on a very small scale, hope isn't there. Everything is right in front of them. And it's, just pointing out, helping open up other paths, I guess, generating that helping them generate their own curiosity. That can be a really pivotal thing for people.
And, let's look at social media, because it's very much a part of our lives. And, it is an algorithm. What you feed it will feed you back. So if you're going down the hate, miserable, bashing rhetoric, that's what you're going to get. But if you choose to go down the positive, uplifting and meaningful posts, and it's not just about what you're posting, and I know that for many people, it's only about business, sell, but it is an interactive platform. And if you can follow somebody and, somebody say, I'm having a bad day, and that simple thing, I've got you, love, or my prayers are with you, love, or, or anything we can do for you, again, that's letting them know you're not alone. And
Yes.
I've done that myself. I've put out like, I'm in this space right now, and it's very,
Mm,
very difficult. And that for me to
right.
ask for that kind of help is, sometimes really
Yeah.
hard. And the amount of prayers and things that I've had, or people come back or reach out to me personally, and it's just let you know you're not alone. It's okay
Yeah.
to ask for help. And I think this is
It
something that,
is.
oh, but social media is so mean and this or that. No, it is if you're feeding that algorithm. But when you
Right.
when you choose to feed the other algorithm, you're going to find there are so many loving, caring people out there that would love to help you in any way they can,
There's a
because
lot
that
of
is what the
empathy,
community
and
is. There
yeah,
is.
there is a lot of empathy. It's very important if you are interacting with social media that you not do it in a passive way. So I
Right.
love what you're saying about actually, interacting with people instead
Yes.
of just scrolling through and snacking on everybody else's lives.
Right. Yes.
But
Or making
and if
a,
you
a lurid comment, be
right,
productive, be something that's
right.
positive,
Right. Yeah. Turn it into an engagement. And if you're
Yeah.
able to, it may not be safe to get together, but turn it into a phone conversation.
Right.
We have lost, I love the access that social media and the internet has provided for us, but we lose a lot of the cues, the social cues we
Mm.
need to really understand in terms of,
Yes.
inflection and tone and facial expression. The masks also took away a lot of
Yes.
that.
Yes.
When I talk to people in their masks now, I ask them to, like, please do something with your eyebrows so I know
Yeah.
you're still there. Nod your head. It's just
Yes.
tough
Yes.
because that's how we read the full.
Yes.
That's how we get what people are
Especially if you're
really
a lip
trying to
reader.
communicate.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So the more we can bring those elements back with, but it's good, like you said, interact with it on social media if you're on there instead of just like scrolling through. Be a supportive
Yeah.
force, offer support, and by being vulnerable. Now, I'm not talking about oversharing because
Hmm.
nobody needs to know every terrible thing that's ever happened in your
Right.
life um, but to say, yeah, this is really hard this year. It's a very different time than and I don't know if I'm going to do this very well because I just
Right.
haven't done it before.
Mm.
That's honest, that's
Yes.
vulnerable, and that allows other people to do the same.
I think, that can also go out to even family. I have on last week a wonderful woman who shared, Caroline Blanchard, who shared her story of alcoholism and how
Mm,
hard it is, as recovering alcoholic,
yeah.
to be around of the festive times. And, she was
Hmm.
sharing tips, and one of them is to let your host know ahead of time. If it
Mm,
gets too much for me, I'm going to leave. Don't take it personally.
yes,
Right.
that's very
And
wise.
and it's like, don't go with any shame. Don't go with any preconceived ideas. Is that your
Hmm.
triggers, oh no, this is getting too much for me. Um,
Yeah.
I need to exit. You've let your host know so she understands that those are your boundaries, those are your parameters,
Hmm.
and nobody else should make you feel bad for it.
No, and I think that's a lot of wisdom what she shared there. I do know people that have are in that
Mm,
situation, and they, there's some things they do stay away from.
yeah,
They know what's and I find it's good when you can come up with alternatives that don't even have triggers to them.
right.
We can
Yes,
go walk, we can do this, we can
yes.
have our Christmas. But yeah, it's good to let them know ahead of time because then you'll continue to be invited as well
Right,
by
right,
doing that.
exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
And we need to, as a society, oh, it's just one drink. No, it isn't just one drink for a person that is
No.
recovering. It's the same if somebody has been on a diet and now,
Mhm.
Christmas is the binging. I'm just like a very small portion. Oh, come on, have some more. No, no, don't say that.
Yeah,
Respect where they're at in their life and be supportive. We can still all have fun, but
right.
respect where people are at.
We're all such different creatures. And
Yes.
there are people that overdo it on Googling, and I think
Yes.
we are not known for moderation as human beings.
No,
We all
exactly.
struggle with something in their lives. There are people
Mm,
that exercise too much. There are
right.
people that, take good things to the wrong level. So, just understanding that we all have those vulnerabilities. They're in different places,
Mm,
but yeah, we're all just kind of figuring it out as we go and doing the best we can. And
mm,
the more we can help one another, with to be their best selves, it's a better experience for all of us.
I think if you are having a gathering, there isn't one person that hasn't gone through some form of strife in the last couple of years,
Uh-huh.
right? And it's like, it's not a comparison of each other's strife, might be more than yours or this or that. Leave the strife at the door.
Mm-hmm.
Channel together. Where's the cheer? Where's the
Right.
laughter?
Be able to
Where's the love
celebrate.
of each other? This
Right.
is the channel we're in today. And we're going
Mm-hmm.
to stay in. We all know that everybody's got some grief. You can have those
Yeah.
conversations privately with each other, but around the table as a
Mm-hmm.
gathering, I mean, we're going to play a lot of games over Christmas,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and we're very much into that type of thing, and it's about the laughter, because we want that laughter, we want that camaraderie, we want to feel the joy. That's not going to happen. Oh, it's Christmas Day, joy. No, it's going to
Yeah.
happen because we set the table for it.
And
Right?
you know what you're addressing, there's a really good way to handle that too. I mean, because these are conversations that probably need to be had if
Yeah.
somebody is really struggling. But you do it in advance,
Yes.
privately. You
Yes.
set it, and it's not something for a big group anyways. You
Right.
arrange for a more intimate conversation. Or if it begins to come up on that day, say, I know this has been so hard. Can we set a time
Yeah.
to get together and have coffee next week? I really want to
Yes.
understand what you're going through. And then they know they've been heard, and
Yeah.
that they know that you value their experience, but indeed you're able to kind of enjoy the day. This isn't going to be a good time, obviously, for us to go too far into this because there's too many people, but I
Right.
really want to understand that's respectful.
Right. Exactly. And, they always say, like, fake it until you make it. You may not feel joyful when you walk in, but if you decide to serve the joy, and everybody partakes of that joy, believe me, the joy will find its way in there. Right?
It's true, because it is there. I mean, I've used this analogy so many times, but it has been the way I go through life. You can look for the flowers, you can look for the trash. You're going to find whichever thing you are looking for,
Exactly.
And so there may be some bad stuff there, but I don't have to stare at it. I can enjoy. It doesn't mean that I'm like pretending it isn't there, but it's just not my focus. If I can do something about it, I will do something about it.
Yes.
But if it's not in my control, I'm going to look at the things that I can enjoy and that I can go forward with.
Yeah, don't take the stench with you.
Yeah, why would we choose, as limited as our time is, to wallow in the bad stuff?
Right.
Exactly. And there are reasons people do. Sometimes it's because they want to do it preemptively, because they know it's going to be terrible, so they want to be ready for it.
Right.
So they sit there in their little fortress with all their armor on, and then they never get to enjoy anything good. No. Or they just sometimes they're perfectionists. But life isn't perfect, is it, Sarah?
No, and I've been down that road in the past, but when because I have two daughters' birthdays in December, and I planned my children, so I'm no good at math. Either side of Christmas. Plus, I used to do a Christmas dinner and everything for my husband's family, and then I would do our Christmas and and a group thing. So December was all about entertainment, and for me, it was work. I didn't have time for the joy, because it was next one that I was catering for. And for me as a hostess, I sit down when everybody's at the coffee stage, because now I can relax. Everybody's being fed and everything else, right? And so I put that pressure on me, because it's the way I've done it all my life, and I don't have a home to do that in anymore. So, the ball's been handed over to the kids and other people.
Yes.
But it's like, it's like the leftovers. You enjoy them better the next day because you haven't been cooking all day and everything else. And it's like, for me, my happiness is everybody else was content. Right. So, but there is this other word that we don't use enough, and it's called delegate.
Oh, that's important. Yes. And that means not micromanaging, letting go of a few things. But, something I like to keep in mind, does the process fit the purpose?
Yes.
So if the purpose is for everybody to enjoy a relaxed time together, is your process of getting there in fitting that purpose, or is it creating stresses that are going to take away from that whole purpose in the end?
Right. Yeah.
So, another thing that we have done, one of our shifts on the traditional, our Thanksgiving meal that we just had, I never do a turkey anymore because my kids also do a turkey. They do a turkey dinner with their dad's side of
Right.
the family. So we always do a favorites meal. So that
Mm,
means it is a complete hodgepodge.
love
I mean,
it.
this year we had buffalo cauliflower spring rolls, we had shrimp, we had what else? Mashed potatoes,
Of
because one of my kids,
course.
that's one of their favorites.
Yes.
So none of it made flatbread pizzadillas, nothing fit together, but it's always a wonderful meal because everybody has like something, they're attached to something on that table, right? And they bring things that maybe they haven't shared before, but it's a new favorite. So, why not do it the way that is fun for all of us? No,
I'm going to
less
go.
pressure.
Our Thanksgiving is here in Canada is in October. And
Yes.
I was at my son's and he has a restaurant and he closed that day. But what he did is he catered meals for people to buy the entire meal there ready to go in the oven. So they did,
Sure.
right.
Yeah.
And it closed early. And then that night had a staff party for all of
Mhm.
the people that had nowhere to go. They could bring their partners.
Oh,
And so there were 20 of us there of his staff and
that's
their partners and
wonderful.
things like this. And I've always had a tradition, which the kids used to thought was painful when they were growing up, but now do, is what are we grateful for?
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I stood up and said I was very grateful for all of them because he's just celebrated his 4th year with the restaurant, but he's had 2 years of pandemic. He snapped his Achilles heel just a
Oh,
few days
my.
beforehand. He had a massive breakup, and just staying alive. As a
Yeah.
restaurant in this time period, and
That's a huge
I
success.
thanked all the
Right.
staff, for that, and he did a speech as well, and then we went round everyone. Now people were in tears. People were
Mm.
thanking people in a way that was utterly beautiful. And everybody like, oh, that was just so
I'm
wonderful.
getting
And
tears right now
yeah,
thinking
no,
about,
it was
yeah.
really emotional. And as like one young man never understood why his mum worked at that restaurant and says some kind of,
Yeah.
more chain thing. And he said, I understand why you love it here, mum, because you're part of a
Oh.
family and I love you, mum. And she said, he never does that. He never does that. And it brought those emotions because the permission to be vulnerable was there. And I
Mhm.
think that kind of going around the table or going around and just saying, what are we grateful for? And if we focus on that gratitude, it
Mhm.
changes the vibration quite a lot, and
Right.
we start feeding, what we have instead of
Mhm.
focusing on what we don't have. And I think it's
Yes.
a wonderful ingredient to have at the table at any festive time.
I agree with you. And I think too, imperfections are a blessing in that kind
Yes,
because that's another it's just being real,
yes, yes,
it allows other people to feel comfortable and be their unreal, their real self too,
yeah.
because they're, none of us, we would be very boring if we were perfect people. There'd be
But what's
nothing.
perfect though?
I
I mean,
know.
what's
It's some
perfect to one person is
algorithm again.
imperfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And the thing is that, I love the word flawsome.
Mm,
Every single one of us is flawed, but we can be awesome
right.
with our flawsomeness because that's what makes us beautifully unique. We're all
Yeah.
given a gift. What is our instrument? How do we learn to play it? And then we join an
Mhm.
orchestra that we can play in harmony, a symphony that resonates out to everyone else. But it doesn't mean we're restricted to playing that instrument one way, right?
Right.
And you can experiment with it and you can go crazy with it and explore what this instrument can do. But I think one of the
Mhm.
big things that we need to remember, we're here not only to discover what our instrument is, but to be of service to one another.
Right. Right. Yeah, because the solo experience just it's a very limited thing and it's so
Yes,
much more beautiful when it's woven into something bigger.
yes, yes,
Yeah, and those flaws are really our little identifying marks, it's
yes,
what makes us special.
yes.
We get to do things with, we go through tough times. I look, the challenges that I've had is those were things was able to repurpose into information that I'm able to use to help other people going forward. And I love the things that it's grown in me. So,
Yeah.
the more we can look at those as things to be used for something useful, we just have to figure out how to fit it and where to use them. Limitless. I mean, don't you
Yeah.
love the idea that, I mean, we really don't have a ceiling on unless we put it there ourselves. We can,
Yeah, that I think, one of the reasons why I love doing these podcasts, and it's over 9.5 years now, is hearing the stories of people, of the struggles that they've gone through, but the strength they discovered of themselves, the courage they
Yeah,
discovered, the abilities they discovered, and the meaningful purpose that they stepped into, and now of
right,
service to other people. And is that we're given these struggles to discover our own selves, of just
right.
how awesome and how capable and what our beautiful instrument is. So don't look at it and go, why me? It's like
Mm,
you're never given more than what you can cope with. So knowing
right.
that, look to the skills that you can cope with it.
Right. And it's a matter of being able to lift your feet and lean forward, because you're in the middle of it. It's hard. And we don't choose. I mean, nobody would choose these
Right.
tough things that come into our lives,
Yes.
but it's only by lifting your foot and leaning forward and finding that you can get somewhere different, and that you can get there with a little more grace, a little more strength, maybe than you knew you're capable of. And maybe you find a few new relationships along the way, people that reach out at the right moment and help your journey along. I mean, whenever I look at, like, for instance, where I am now, I have to be able to accept and be thankful for all the things that went into that, because
Yes.
I appreciate where I am. I'm
Yes.
thankful. In all my flossomeness, to use your word, I'm a contented woman. It's a good place in life. So
Exactly. And that's where,
the
we want to get to that stage where, going back to what we said in the beginning,
mhm,
being in solitude with self without feeling alone. Right.
right.
And, that doesn't mean we don't like company. It just means we
Mhm.
can be our own company because we're at one with
Yes.
self.
Yes. And so I would think, these people that we've talked about that might be facing their first Christmas alone, or their first holiday alone, or maybe their 20th holiday
Right.
alone, looking ahead and thinking through what choices they have available to them
Right.
is a good idea. Put those little personal oases on your calendar, things you can look forward to. Set those up ahead of time. And, I if I find I'm going to have a lonely period of time, I like to think of a project that I can
Yes.
do. Something, it may not be anything monumental. I remember going through a couple of different breakups, and they were ones that I planned. I knew that, I mean, but I knew it was going to be hard. So, one was redo my master closet. I got all my supplies in. And then another was repainting the laundry room and a bathroom. I had a project, and it gave
Right.
me, yes, it was still going to hurt, but it gave me something to do. And I had something to show at the end of it that
Right.
was
Yes.
not bad.
You
Right.
weren't just wallowing in your own self-pity. Right. So yeah.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
the more choices and you can say, do I want to sit at home tonight, or do I want to go out and take a walk here? I mean, those are
Right.
simple choices, but those are two things, and you're picking one of them.
Right.
So
Yeah. And to realize there's an awful lot of people in your situation.
there are,
You can use your social media local. I'm in this area.
mm,
Anybody want to get together?
yeah,
Over the Christmas period, maybe even not on Christmas Day, but over the Christmas period,
right,
a coffee, a
right.
walk, a lunch, a this, or that, a tea, whatever. You could decide what the connection is, but there are other people in this situation like you.
Yeah,
And if we are looking at our elderly that are not so savvy in that way, knock on the door. Can
right.
I take you shopping? Can I do shopping for you? Would you come over for tea? Can I come over for tea? And
That's beautiful.
it's
Right.
it is one of the greatest gifts you can give is your
It
time.
is. It is, and reach out to old neighbors that
Yes.
maybe you haven't talked to in a while. It's a good time to have a little phone reunion,
Yeah.
and anybody, why not call somebody from way back when and say, I just thought of you, and we
Yes.
haven't talked for 20 years. And I just was curious how your life has gone, because you
Right.
always were a special person to me,
Right.
that's
Exactly.
yeah,
And don't
why
go, oh, it's
not?
20 years, they're not going to care anymore. We don't know who cares until we reach out. Right.
Right.
Yeah,
It's an adventure. It's a good adventure. I
it is.
mean,
It is.
I think those are the
Now,
best kind.
let's quickly talk about your books.
Mhm.
The last show that we did was on the friendship upgrade. Please go
Mhm.
back and listen to this, folks. It's absolutely a wonderful show. On friendships, on how we actually really kind of build our friendships up, which is really, really important. We had a lot of fun with that conversation.
Mhm.
And so I do recommend that book as well. Don't forget, Christmas is around the corner. Books are a wonderful gift to give. But you also have another book here right now as well, which is the sorry,
Date like a grown-up.
yes.
Yes.
No,
And that one,
let's quickly talk about the first one, and then when we get to date like a grown-up, we can talk about dating quickly, in this time period.
Yeah, kind of a tough time for it.
Yeah.
I wrote Date Like a Grown-Up first, but I say Friendship Upgrade was really the prequel. It's where we need to start because it goes into connecting with ourselves and building that foundation of friendships that we need in our lives. Talks about how isolation happens and how easily it happens with the way the world is these days and transitions, and how it's easier unfortunately, for most adult women to find an online date than a friend in their neighborhood, the way we live,
Yes.
So it's got a lot of personal stories and some humor in it. And then it kind of offers guidance on how to rebuild and reconnect with the world. So people have found it really helpful. And I'm thankful for that it's connected. I'm finishing a workbook that goes with that. And a couple other things too. So hopefully within the next few months here. And then Date Like a Grown-Up, that, as I said, that's the one I wrote first because I was aware I was at a very solitary space in my life. And I began to recognize that a lot of people were making the same mistake that I was, which was, I'm alone, I need to date. Not the best way to go about it.
Right, exactly.
Because when you have a space in your life and try to fill it, you have this urge to fill it right away. It's like, looking for love when you're lonely is like looking for a healthy dinner in the snack aisle. It just isn't going to happen. You're grabbing the first thing you see, the best available at this moment, when in fact, most people benefit from a little bit of time to pause and really think through who they are now, not, because chances are, they may be approaching it as they were 10 years ago when they were single then.
Yes.
And now you're a different person. I got a million stories in that book. Not a million, I'm sorry, big exaggeration there. But there's several funny stories in there and a lot of good thinking points that can help you make better decisions so that you can actually, if somebody's just looking to casually date, this wouldn't be the book for them. Right. This is for those people that want to find a right fit relationship that can be a long-term part of their lives.
Yeah. So. And as you pointed, going down the aisle, we can get very illusional of the shiny package.
Oh,
and
yes.
And not looking at the inside. Yeah.
We fall in love with hypothetical people sometimes. Right. This is what it's like we look at someone, you're like, oh, you just throw all your hopes and dreams on them and they look fantastic, because they look close enough that you're just sure they must be it. Right. And then they start to remove items of clothing. It's like this bad strip tease. And you're like, oh, he doesn't love kids. Oh, he isn't nice to his mother. Right. And then you're like shell shocked, but you've already invested time with that person. It can be a hard disconnect at that point. Right. So, it's better to go a little, quit throwing your hopes and dreams on them until they're worthy of holding a couple of them. Right?
Yeah, exactly. And they also, it's back to the algorithm, when you are at love with self. And you know who you are and what you have to contribute, and that love vibration that you're reflecting in is what you're going to attract in other people. So if you're looking for love to complete you, complete yourself, because what you're looking for is love to extend you, to share with you, not complete you.
I like to say, my life is great. Finding a great relationship isn't going to make or break it. It's already a good life. And that's where you kind of have to be in your head. And that's, again, where the value of those friendships lies, because then you have a broader perspective. You aren't trying to find a one size fits all solution in one person. You instead have other options for your evenings. You have a better understanding of who you are reflected back at you because you've got all these people that know you and see you. And you also have other voices going into your head other than your own.
Right, exactly.
So you're not going to be dating while desperate is dangerous. So you've got to, it's good to have a big life before you try to add romantic interest to it.
And I think especially, when you get to a more mature age, there's different things you want out of life. And I think one of the things that you're looking for first and foremost is somebody that you can call a friend.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's very true. I mean, and I noticed, through the pandemic, a lot of people got onto these dating apps, but they really were looking for that friend connection first. They didn't
Yes.
have anybody to talk to,
Right.
because
Right.
they discovered that their social network was really like it had a workplace perimeter. And
Yeah.
suddenly the office was gone and there was nobody there.
Right.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, we have to be good to ourselves and build out lives that are bigger than one person, bigger than ourselves.
Yes.
A community is definitely the way that we live a better life.
Right. It is not the one size that fits all in anything
Mhm.
in life. And we've also got to understand the big P word, participation in everything. If we're feeling alone, what are we going to do about it? Right?
Mhm.
What proactiveness are you going to take?
Right.
My mum was one to kind of wait for someone to save her at, come rolling
Mhm.
in at the door. And I remember saying to her, Prince Charming's not coming knocking at your door. You have to go out and show Prince Charming where you
Yeah.
live, and it's if we're not willing to get out there and kind of put ourselves in an arena, then we're
Mhm.
not going to meet people. So if you want to volunteer somewhere, maybe the animal shelter or the Salvation Army or the this or that, something that kind of means something to you, where those
Mhm.
conversations are going to be beautiful or beneficial, you're going to meet people who are there for that reason. And you
Right.
form a connection, and that you never know where that connection can go, but you're
Mhm.
on the same playing field, right?
Right. Yeah. There are people that I call it, they land in someday living. We're like, they're going to do
Mm,
all these wonderful things someday when they have a partner, when they have this,
right.
that, or the other. And it is far better to just start living that life you want now. And you will come alongside
Yes.
somebody that shares that same kind of a view. You may not be on the exact same path, but that would be boring, wouldn't it? But you just kind of have you similar purpose, similar direction. And that, then you're more like the person they're going to want to, because you've been
Right.
moving forward along the way as
The
well.
same type of values, right? Well,
Yeah,
that's
but
what we're kind of looking for. Yes,
small steps are better than no steps. And
exactly.
it's hard to do that when you feel like you're behind. But little steps, I like to ask, does this help me or hurt me?
Right.
If I sit alone in my home tonight, is that going to help me? Would it be better for me maybe just to go take go to I talk about walking a lot because you can
Yes.
obviously tell I love the outdoors. That's something that's like my go-to, but
Right.
something that's, add another choice and decide which is going to help me, which is going to hurt me. And then make some choices that help yourself. Little ones are fine, but
Yeah.
just move in that direction.
Yeah, I know that for me, for 2022, I've got to kind of
Mhm.
change things. I live with an 88-year-old who's just an incredible, wonderful woman. She really is,
Mhm.
and we've become extremely good friends. And but it's off to Tim Hortons and it's off to Denny's, and it's like I haven't been into a decent coffee shop in a very long time. And
Yeah.
I'd made a whole load of friends before the pandemic. Then the pandemic came and everybody kind of dwindled, and it's like I kind of have to start again. And
Yes.
it's like in 2022, I've kind of got to put myself out there more in the
Mhm.
arena, because I'm on this arena and then this arena and with the grandchild. And it's like
Yeah.
somewhere along the line, I've got to go and put myself in a place where I can broaden my spectrum. And it's
It's
like,
true.
being aware of that, knowing I need to
Mhm.
do that, and then, all right, like, how am I going to do that? Where am I going to do that? When am I going to do that? At least start with the proactiveness of looking into it.
And a big help on that is to actually put that on your calendar, because
Yeah.
intentions float. And when
Yes,
you actually
yes.
put it down as a priority, I do calendar entries for things that
Mm,
are really need to be done. And it doesn't have to be an appointment with a person. It can be
yes.
that appointment with myself that I know I need to
Right.
go. I have take a walk every day at a certain
Yeah.
time because I know my brain needs that little break from what
Right.
I'm working on. And I try to honor that because, I do better if I do.
Right.
But yeah. Mhm.
What helps you be the better you? Because when you're the better you are better service to everyone else, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's we forget, while we're chasing something, that
Mhm.
it really all lies within us, and that everything that we do is an extension of that. It's
Right.
if it's costing you, your well-beingness, if it's costing you, then it's the wrong thing. You're not meant
Mhm.
to be doing that. If it's something that illuminates you, that excites you, that makes you feel really that you're a contributor, or that you're really making a difference, then that that's good for you, right? Because it's not
Right.
just what's good for the mind and the body, it's what's good for the heart and the soul, because
Right.
we're all
Right.
working together.
Right. Is this helping me be more the person I want to be? That's really a
Yes,
good question to go with, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
So hopefully we have a picture of what direction that is.
yeah.
That's like a beautiful thing when you get that established in your mind and just start stretching.
And I think, that what I've always said to people is feel what you want rather than think what you want,
Mhm.
because our thoughts, well, I'd like to have this and I'd like to have that. And that again is the external living. When we look at what do I need, what do I feel I
Mm.
need for me to feel kind of wholesome and content. And it's always a very different thing to what you think you
Mm.
wanted, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. It's, we're afraid of our feelings a lot of the
mm,
time. It's important to be, they're not bad. They're not bad. Some of them hurt a little bit,
yeah,
but if we look at them and acknowledge them, then we can begin to make choices that take us away, towards feelings that we will enjoy more, certainly.
right.
But yeah,
Well,
yes.
we're going into this festive season. We're not going to be in the massive party season like we've seen in the past. We're
Mm.
still kind of under that umbrella, but that doesn't mean you can't be festive. And it doesn't mean that you can't be, participatory in what's going on
Mhm.
around you. And that if you don't volunteer at any particular volunteer thing, it's like volunteer to drive someone somewhere or pick something up for someone, or help somebody out with something, if that's within your own community and or your family. Um,
And, and just be that person that says, to the cashier, how's it going today?
exactly. Oh
Be
my
aware of
God.
other people, be aware
Yeah.
of other people. Because people are they're looking for that they earn for that. And
Right.
you can be that light. Right. Mm-hmm.
Right. Again, gratitude. Right. It's, thank you for your service. You're saying it in a way, I see you, I hear you, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And, there I actually have a show out right now on basically, the ethics of Christmas shopping, which
Mm.
is, especially here in BC with the flooding and
Yeah.
our one artery of our road is gone. We're not going to get the goods.
Right.
And a lot of our stores are already empty shelves. And it's like, be patient. If you've ordered something and it's not there, you can cut out the picture of what it is you've ordered and give that and say it's on
Mm-hmm.
its way,
Yes.
right? And it's like, don't yell at the storekeeper or anyone else because
Yes.
it's not,
Oh my goodness.
right?
I've had a couple of, I actually saved this one. It was a printout from a phone call with a customer support person, and they were just so grateful for basic kindness. I thought
Yes,
this, I have to remember, because I wasn't doing anything extraordinary. I
right,
just was being, not polite even, but just
right,
treating
yeah,
them like a human being. And
right,
it can be a horrible time when people are stressed out.
right,
So, put your stress where, what's your anger? It's you don't like the way the world is right now.
right,
Well, it's hard. It
yeah,
is hard. But being angry at other people doesn't change the fact that we just have to get through this. So
yes,
indeed,
yes.
how can we do that better? And
Find ways to manage your anger, whether punching a bag, going for a jog,
mhm,
going over to
right.
the bridge and yelling and screaming, it just
And
find that release,
laughing and
relax.
laughing. You
Yes,
don't have what I ordered? Of course you don't.
right,
What was I
exactly.
thinking?
Yeah, yeah. God, does that mean I've got to choose something else? Oh God,
Right. Oh
yeah,
my. Yeah. Right.
yeah. And
So,
like the world will keep on moving if they don't
and,
have what you want, right?
and be
So,
gentle with yourself.
oh yeah,
Don't, if you can't find the perfect ingredients for the dinner you usually make something different and be
right.
happy with it because it's
Exactly.
something new to try. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. And one of the other thing is if you are going to somebody else who's doing Christmas, please don't, but we don't do it like that. Please zip
Yeah. Right.
it.
Well, and I think it's fun. You always learn so much from the way other people do, and some of it's valuable to know
Yeah.
because it's stuff you end up wanting to incorporate in your own life. So
Yes.
be what's meaningful. You keep it
Right.
to that. What is meaningful? And it's going to be a lot more about the relationships than it is about the food and the details of the presents or whatever. So
I mean, I love, the gift that your daughter gave you with all the lovely memories in there. I
mhm.
love, the potluck that you did of everybody bringing of, their favorites, whether they melch together or not. And it's
Right.
like it takes the pressure off people. I mean, who says that
Mhm.
Christmas Day has to be about turkey? We're veganing anyway. So,
Yes.
it one thing I have noticed with my kids, a common denominator of foods that they were brought up
Mhm.
on that they all still love, that they've always
Mhm.
got to incorporate in. And it's like, oh, that's cool. That's cool that they still love that, right? Because they all
Right.
brought up on it and they all incorporated in some way or other. So this is
Yeah.
their tradition they're building now, right? So it's
Yes.
like you've handed the reins over. So
Yes.
I think another thing about us for people to do at this time is have some grace.
Yes. And you know what? Why not be vocal about, that's a very different way to do that. I love what you've done with that old
Right.
tradition.
Yes.
Appreciate it because,
Yes.
our young ones, they're starting new things. And, the more we can affirm the ability of one another to be creative, that opens up all kinds of possibilities. We
Yes.
should all be thankful for creativity and appreciate it where we see it.
And if everything stayed the same, there would be, and we wouldn't be where we are today in any realm. We'd still be
Mhm.
cavemen. The whole part of it is we are exploratory creatures. We love an
Yes.
adventure. We love discovering something different. We love being creative. And when we celebrate that creativeness, well, I didn't do it like that in my day. No, that was your day. This is their
Right.
day, and if they have taken some tradition from your day and incorporated it in theirs, then wonderful, right? Because
Right.
that
Right.
tradition is carrying on. But let go of what has been and celebrate what is in front of you.
Mhm. Very wise words, Sarah. Definitely.
So how do people buy your books? Because again, Christmas presents, excellent gifts to give
Yes,
people.
definitely. Well, the Friendship Upgrade is available either through my website, heatherdugan.com, or my publishers, Headline Books. You can find it on Amazon. You can also find it on Audible. I was the I have a voiceover background, so I voiced that book as
Mm-hmm.
well. And then Date Like a Grown Up, same places. Look on Amazon, look on my website, etc. No audiobook for that yet, but
Coming.
we've got about part way. Right, right. But yeah, please, and reach out. I'm on social media all over the place, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and you can reach out on my website as well. I love to come and speak to groups. I've got a number of topics that I've done and some continuing ed stuff as well.
Can
So
you spell your name for people who are just listening?
sure, it's Dugan, Heather Dugan. So very simple spelling, Dugan. Not too many letters there, but
Right.
easy to find. Mhm.
heatherdugan.com.
Yes,
So
thank
and
you.
find everything under that umbrella there. So,
Mhm.
and please, folks, as I said, I'm dead serious. You want to give something that keeps on giving, and a book is a wonderful gift that keeps on giving. You
And
know,
these books are especially helpful in terms of helping people make some important life changes.
yeah,
And if you want an autograph copy, that's, I just was at a show where I did that kind of thing too. So just, reach out and ask if that's something that you desire. So.
wonderful. It's always a delight. I look forward to having you back on again
Likewise,
in
Sarah.
2022. So, and
Yes.
here's hoping. I know we're still. I actually do have somebody coming on who every year she writes a book on which she channels of what's going to happen in the next year.
Oh,
So
yeah.
she said that it's a year where everybody's had enough and we're stepping up to make those changes, but it's still going to be a little tumultuous. But it is
Yeah.
more of an optimism of we have more power to change things. So
We've learned some things. I hope
yeah,
that we can use this to the benefit of all.
yes,
Right.
the step up, change it up, grow
Mhm.
it up, right? Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Yes.
Time to get into those channels. Yes, but I think one of the big things is if you know somebody that is alone, reach out in
Please.
one way, please. Um, it's well, I don't know them. We'll get to know them.
Mhm.
Any interaction is going to make a huge difference. And
Yes.
be kind, be caring, be considerate. That's one of the greatest gifts you can give each other this year.
It is. It is. Yeah, don't get so caught up in the process that we forget the purpose of these
Yes.
holidays, which is to connect with one another.
Yes, yes. Whatever your religion is, Christmas,
Mhm.
whatever your faith is it's the time of people coming together.
Yes.
On any of the religious holidays that are going on right now, it is the togetherness that we celebrate, and that's where we really understand the real gift is within
Mhm.
each other, right?
Yes.
So
True.
Wonderful having you back here again. And I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a very
Likewise to you.
and an enlightened, prosperous, calm 2022. And to everyone else out there, remember these books make wonderful Christmas gifts, and they make a wonderful gift to you.
Yes.
Invest in you. Look at 22 as a year that you're going to take charge out of your own life and not be so restrained by what's going on. It's like you may have these restrictions on you, but that doesn't mean you can't still put foot to the pedal and move forward. And so these books are a great gift to you, and you're going to know somebody else is going to benefit from them as well. So maybe a book club, send it out to your girlfriends and have a book club, right?
That sounds great. Yes. Very good.
All right.
Thank you, Sarah.
To everyone else out there, I wish you a wonderful season. And until next time, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. You will hear many, many shows here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. We have new shows for you out every week. Just find them on our podcast or What's New. If you feel that you have something to share that makes a difference in the lives of others, or you too feel that you could be a host, please contact me at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com and we will be glad to speak with you. Have a wonderful day.